What's happening, everyone, and welcome to the channel. I'm very excited about this video. I have the man, the myth, the legend, the Don Robbie on the channel. Rob, always an honour to have you on with me. Thank you so much for finding the time, mate. There is only one man for the job here. I thought what could be very important to do, because I don't think I've done this at all, despite the fact that, you know, Chelsea and Arsenal, such rivalry, both London historic clubs. I haven't ever really sat down and done a combined 11. Right. And the only man to do this with is you. So a Premier League combined 11 between Chelsea and Arsenal. You're obviously the perfect man to do this with.
Okay.
And what I will ask, if you can find it within yourself, it's not easy, but if you can find it from within, do your best to remove all bias, remove all tribalism, just be totally honest. So
I'll be totally honest, I can't do that.
No.
No, I'll try my best.
So for example, there's an invincible of yours.
Right.
Who you may not like so much anymore, who I just think has to be in the team despite your natural bias against. Yeah. But if we do this as honestly and professional as we can.
Okay.
We'll start.
I'll do my best.
We start with goalkeepers. There are probably three to discuss.
Right.
The three that I would put on the table would be Jens Lehmann, because of his significance in defending the invincible record. David Seaman, because I believe he's probably the best Arsenal goalkeeper of the Premier League era.
Yeah, I agree.
And Petr Cech would be my shout.
Now, straight away, I'm going to put my bias aside, right, and say I have to go Cech, because I'm not on about the Cech at Arsenal, right, because we got the bounce Cech. I'm on about you lot had the real Cech. No, I think, Premier League era, I'd have to, even though I love David Seaman, he was an absolutely wonderful goalkeeper for both Arsenal and England. But I think Petr Cech's achievements in the Premier League, you know, what he did, how significant he was for Chelsea, I'd have to go Cech.
The two that I mentioned there from an Arsenal perspective would have been Lehmann and Seaman. You know, if you were doing just an Arsenal team of the Premier League era, Seaman over Lehmann.
Yeah, definitely. Lehmann was a great goalkeeper, but he could be a bit erratic. Yeah. You know, he could do moments of madness like what we saw in the Champions League final.
Do you think that criticism's fair? You know, when people say that Lehmann cost Arsenal a European Cup, do you think that is actually, would you agree with that sentiment?
Well, he got sent off, didn't he? Early, I was there. And he got sent off, and it was early in the game as well. Had we have gone, did what we did, we went 1-0 up, but we had 10 men. So he was just still always up. It changed. And you know how Arsenal played in those days, that we had to change our whole style of playing. I think if we'd had 11 men on the pitch, I think we'd have won that game. Yeah. So I guess you could argue that. But we still love Lehmann. Yeah. But I'd say Seaman was better, definitely.
Seaman was better, but for this, we're going to go for Petr Cech.
Yeah, I'll give you Petr Cech.
Okay, well, I think this is the easiest one now. There's nothing to debate here. I believe that this one we could just say and move on. Ashley Cole, left back. Can you do it?
I can do it. I have to be honest. He was brilliant for us, and he was brilliant for you. I was really sad when he left. I was really angry when he left. Funny enough, I've since read David Dean's book, and I've spoken to David Dean about this. And David Dean, even though Ashley Cole's had so much stick and continues to get so much stick to this day, David Dean told me that it was Arsenal's fault that he left. He said that for the sum of money, he goes, it wasn't a big insurmountable sum that he wanted extra. We should have done it. We could have done it. And he said that he argued with the other board members about doing it, and we didn't refuse to do it. And he went to Chelsea, and we could have kept hold of Ashley Cole. So he's taken a lot of grief over the years from Arsenal fans and continues to do so. I remember at the time. Oh,
do you remember coming to Stamford Bridge with all the notes? Do you remember you had the notes with Ashley Cole's face on the
the notes with his face on. I remember they used to have like songs about him. Songs that, by the way.
No, I remember.
Those songs, right?
I remember.
Those songs, if they were played now, people would be in serious trouble. You know what I mean? Serious trouble. Yeah. But that's how much he was hated because of the move. And actually, we should have kept him. He was a great player. I think he was the first sort of revolutionary left back that we box to box, up and down, that we saw in the Premier League, and he was English.
Yeah.
And he's left back.
And the defensive capabilities of him were like through the roof.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Like, you know, when people talk about other left backs, you know, if you want to like try and work out the best ever Premier League 11, for example, I don't think that Ashley Cole is part of that debate. I think Ashley Cole is part of a far bigger debate, which is the best left back of all time. Like, I think
he's up there.
Yeah,
he's in that conversation, and he was world class.
Yeah. Like, you're not comparing Ashley Cole with Graham Lasso or Gael Clichy. You're comparing Ashley Cole with Paolo Maldini and Roberto Carlos.
Yeah, no, he was world class. Yeah. World class. For England, he was brilliant as well. So
I do agree. Over the other side, so if we go to right back, for us, the options would be, I think Branislav Ivanovic was an excellent right back.
Yeah, he was good.
Cesar Azpilicueta certainly had his moments in that position where he played very well. Paulo Ferreira won back-to-back leagues with us. For you, standouts?
I loved Lauren.
Yeah.
Lauren was unbelievable. I love Sanya as well. Them two, I used to love.
How good was Lee Dixon for this conversation?
Dixon was awesome, but sort of, we're talking Premier League, innit? So he was just slightly before that, wasn't he?
Right.
He's a bit in the Premier League, but
who would your shout be? Out of those three, Arsenal, who would it
out
be?
Of those three,
Ivanovic.
It's Dixon, isn't it? Lee Dixon was absolute quality. But then Lauren was in the invincible team.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say. I thought it would be Lauren. He was
in the invincible team. Lee Dixon, I think, is out of those three the best right back out of those three.
Okay. So is Lee Dixon a better right back than Branislav Ivanovic? Who I think is
because
Chelsea's shout.
I thought Ivanovic was great, but he was sort of a converted centre back, wasn't he?
He was.
He just was brilliant in that position, but as an out-and-out right back,
Lee Dixon.
And you could put Lauren there as well, because Lauren. But I'd say Lee Dixon.
Lee Dixon. Yeah. So then it becomes Lee Dixon or Dan Petrescu, who.
Lee Dixon.
Okay, so Lee Dixon. We're doing this honourably. It's been very Chelsea heavy so far. Lee Dixon. Right, this is where it's going to get really intense now. Centre halves. You can help me with this. There's something very weird happens with Arsenal fans. You know, if I were to say certain things, Arsenal fans defend certain players in the most impassioned way, and I rate it. There are certain things that you can't get away with saying because Arsenal fans won't allow it. Do you know what Arsenal fans do allow? And it doesn't make sense to me. When we discuss the best ever centre halves in the Premier League, there are two Arsenal centre halves that are right up there for me. But if I were to do my best 5 ever Premier League centre halves, there are 2 Arsenal players that could easily be in it. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like Arsenal fans. If I were to say Thierry Henry doesn't make this team, Arsenal fans will go ballistic. But if I were to say Tony Adams doesn't make this team, I feel like it's okay to say that. Arsenal fans don't go so ballistic. And they also don't go so ballistic about Sol Campbell. There doesn't seem to be that.
No, I would go ballistic about one of those two has to be in this 11.
I completely agree.
You know, I guess you're certainly going to put John Terry in there. And he obviously has to be in there because he was, you know, I hated John Terry, but you know, sometimes when you hate a player because they're good,
of course.
He was.
You always hate the bet.
There was some other little things about him I didn't like, but the main thing was he was an unbelievable defender. So I already know he has to be in there. But one of either Sol Campbell or Tony Adams has to be in there. I'll probably put Tony Adams, his leadership qualities that he had.
I agree.
Everything he went through, the way he came back, he had almost like a second career. He has to be in. I
agree, Rob. I just don't get why it's not
I think
spoken
sometimes
about.
What it was, right, is that I remember at the time, right, a lot when he sort of first came to the Arsenal team, a lot of people thought, I don't know, man, this guy's bit of limit. It looks like he's got a bit of limited ability and stuff like that. But over the years, he just grew into being such a solid defender, and he was a major part of that brilliant defence that Arsenal had. I mean, he was
that defence.
He was the defence. Yeah. He was the leader. He was the same way John Terry was for Chelsea. He was for Arsenal. We got a statue for him. You know what I mean? He scored that famous goal when we won the league. Yeah. I mean, he has to be in it. I'd put him in ahead of Sol Campbell, even though, and I'd want both of them in there, but obviously John Terry has to go in there. So I'm going to put Tony Adams in there.
I agree. I think it's totally correct, and I don't understand why. You know, when we go, Virgil van Dijk is the best. You know, people start all that. Like Tony Adams was better than Van Dijk.
Maybe just because of the amount of time that's passed.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason.
It's important
why.
to remember the brilliance of a bygone era, though.
But you know, he was exceptional. You know what I mean? And you know, when you talk about leadership qualities
and resilience, man.
Resilience.
It was on the front page. You know when the papers were selling massive numbers, like 4 million copies and all that.
Yeah.
It's on the front page. Front page, I think it was the Mirror. They did him like a donkey.
Yeah.
To bounce back from that.
Yeah, I'll never forget. Right, there was one time when we beat Tottenham. And these guys printed these brilliant T-shirts at the time that said "The donkey won the derby."
Yeah.
But no, he was a brilliant player.
Yeah, there's a lot of tackles in that back line.
Yeah.
I love that. Right, should we do a 3 in midfield?
3 in midfield, yeah.
Okay. Frank Lampard for me has to be in this team. Whatever you want to do, however you want to spin it, whatever you want to say about.
What are we going for?
Should we do 3-3? Because what we don't want is only 2 attackers because it will cause us all sorts of problems.
All right.
So Frank Lampard for me is like a non-negotiable. He is a record-breaking 4th in the record goal-scoring charts as a midfielder.
Okay. Patrick Vieira has to also, under the same circumstances, has to be in there. One of the best defensive midfield players of all time.
I don't disagree.
Of all time.
There is one problem.
Winner.
There is one problem, and I do.
Problem with what?
The problem is Patrick Vieira, and I'm trying to do this without any bias, right? Is Patrick Vieira a better player than N'Golo Kante?
Yes. Better player, better all-round player than N'Golo Kante, yes. N'Golo Kante, brilliant. Vieira's the blueprint for all these guys.
Okay.
Vieira had everything.
Is
absolutely
Patrick Vieira,
everything. Leader as well.
Is he better than Claude Makelele?
Yes.
Is he better than Michael Essien?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not even suggesting.
Listen, you got a good selection there.
Yeah.
Right. But I think he was better than those. He's better than all 3 of them. I think at the time, and I guess you could argue this for Kante, possibly, but at the time when he was playing at his heights, he was the best in his position in the world.
Yeah. Immense.
You could argue that for Makelele, but was that at Chelsea? I don't think so. I don't think that was when he was at Chelsea he had that label. Possibly Kante. Essien. Was Essien even a defensive midfielder? More box-to-box
midfielder.
So yeah.
Okay.
Vieira.
Rob, do you know what? When I was asking you, is Vieira better? I wasn't even like loading the question.
Yeah.
I was just establishing it, really. I wanted to put the names to you. I've got no issue with Patrick Vieira being in this team. None at all. I think he's a Premier League great, and he certainly deserves being in the team. Okay.
Pires? Robert Pires in there?
I would suggest that the 3rd spot is Cesc Fabregas.
You're trying to go with a little neutral peacemaking thing here. I actually absolutely loved Cesc Fabregas. If we're looking at the balance of the team, and then you want someone now, you've got your box-to-box guy in Lampard, you've got your defensive midfielder in Vieira, who could also was kind of box-to-box as well. I guess if you put Cesc Fabregas in there for his creativity, I wouldn't argue with that. He was an absolutely amazing player. That player upset me when he went to Chelsea. He really did. I was upset though with Arsenal because we had this clause. Huh?
You could have bought him back.
We had this clause where we could have bought him back, and we didn't. When I saw him go to Chelsea, I know a lot of Arsenal fans were having a go at him, but I wasn't personally because I'm like,
is there one reason?
A guy's got to do it for his career.
Do you know, I've got a lot of Arsenal fans in my life, Rob. You know sort of where I grew up, a very Arsenal-heavy area. There's one reason why I think that's put to me why some Arsenal fans don't necessarily want him back. Not because of the player, but because of how he left. People seem to... he went on strike, didn't he? He went on strike and he was wearing a Barca top.
He got that Barca top put on him. He went to a Grand Prix when he should have been, you know. But you got to understand that Barcelona is his boyhood club. We took him there from he was a kid. He was always, you know, when you've got a player that's always destined to go to a place. Yeah. And then he never bad-mouthed Arsenal. I always look at things like that, right? You know, sometimes some players leave. Like I thought when Nasri left, you know what I mean? He didn't just leave under a cloud. He bad-mouthed the club.
He did it the other night. I saw him the other day.
Yeah,
I saw him the other day when he was talking about Marseille and Man City and Arsenal.
Yeah, but he's going to say that because he knows he's not welcome at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Right? So, but Cesc never bad-mouthed the club. To me, Cesc Fabregas is still an Arsenal great. And I don't hold nothing against him. And then he's a professional footballer. He's got to do what's right for his career. And for his career at the time, you know what I mean, he wanted to come back to Arsenal. They didn't want him. Chelsea wanted him. He's got to go, innit?
And then he lobbed check at Stamford Bridge. There was a moment, you know, where you just think, life doesn't make sense anymore. Chelsea had beaten Arsenal, which, if you're my generation, didn't happen very often. Chelsea had beaten Arsenal quite convincingly. And Cesc Fabregas has just scored for Chelsea past.
I know.
It's a check.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
really, really weird. It's a beautiful midfield, that, though. So I think we can be happy there. So moving forward now to the front three. So this is
Thierry Henry. Let's just get that out of the way. Just like you did with Lampard. Okay. We get that out of the way immediately.
In what? Through the middle?
Thierry Henry.
If we're doing a three up front, is he through the middle?
You could put him through the middle. You can put him on the left. I guess because you want to get Drogba in there, innit?
I think Didier Drogba is a better striker than Thierry Henry.
What?
Not a better footballer. Not a better
Striker?
footballer. There are many things that Thierry Henry is better than Didier Drogba at.
He's not a better striker. He's probably better in the air.
Better front man.
Listen, all right, if you're talking direct centre forward, hold up play, bullying defenders, in the air, I'd agree with you, right? But all round football,
yeah. No,
you know, I guess the way you sort of frame that, I can't argue with the framing of it. But we all know that when it comes to, I mean, you've had these arguments before about when it comes to overall footballer, Thierry Henry is not just better than Didier Drogba. He's the best Premier League striker of all time. He had everything, absolutely everything. But I would agree with you. I'd have Drogba down the middle. Drogba, he used to give me nightmares, man. Every time this guy used to play against Arsenal, bullied up our defenders, scored important goals, big goals. We won it. We were actually in for him when he was at Marseille as well. And obviously Chelsea had the dough, they got him. But he's quality. I remember his first season, he didn't start very well, did he?
He scored against Palace. I remember Celestine Baviaro crossed it in. He scored against Palace. But yeah, it was a little bit...
He's a bit dodgy in his first season, isn't he?
A little bit raw.
But then once he grew into it. And he was a leader as well. I think his leadership quality. So, you know, he'd be in there. But Thierry Henry, we could put Thierry Henry out. Yeah.
The problem is I'm now seeing real trouble ahead. Because...
Trouble ahead for you.
Potentially for me.
Because Dennis Bergkamp also has to be in that team. So you've got Bergkamp in there, you've got Thierry. You know, those two cannot be omitted from this 11. So who is it? Who else?
You see the problem though, right?
What's the problem? I don't see no problem. No, I don't. What is the problem?
The problem
What problem you got, bro?
I've got big problems here because we've boxed
big problems in yourself. You box yourself.
No, you're in the trenches with me, Rob.
No, I'm sweet.
No, you're not.
I am. We're good here.
You have boxed us into a corner because I do agree with you. Henry, unreal, has to be in. I agree with you about Dennis Bergkamp. There is a Eden Hazard-shaped problem to accommodate.
Well, that's for you to sort out. It's either Hazard or Drogba. Down to you. We could put Hazard in and we could put Thierry Henry down the middle.
Is Bergkamp a non-negotiable? Like I kind of think he is, by the way.
Non-negotiable player.
Yeah, agreed. I don't really know.
I'm leaving it down to you. You can have one of them two.
Is Bergkamp better than Eden Hazard?
Kind of different positions, isn't it? We're
talking about, if we can only have one.
We're talking about now, because we used to play with two forward players, right? Those two complemented each other brilliantly, whether it was Ian Wright and Bergkamp. Yeah. Bergkamp has to be in that.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
He's a forward player. We're talking about a forward line now.
Yeah. Maybe
you should have put Hazard in midfield.
I don't disagree with you. I'd be cheating though. I would like to do that, but
choice is yours, bro. Because this is one where I ain't compromising on. Bergkamp, Henry.
I know, and I don't think you should. I think you're right to say that Dennis Bergkamp has to be in because he does have to be in, and I think you're right about Thierry Henry as well. I think I'm right about Drogba though, but I also feel like Eden Hazard has to be in this team, but I don't know what to do. I literally don't know what to do.
I think you could take.
There isn't. Eden Hazard. Hang on, we're gonna get caned for this. But
Hazard wasn't a creative. Something. Problems all yours, bro.
Right. Okay. Okay. This is gonna be. Okay, Eden Hazard's on the bench. That's Eden Hazard is like the first. But there's no other alternative, is there? Didier Drogba has to be. I can't not have Drogba. Like, do you know? I thought I was going to be making a case for Arjen Robben, and he hasn't even got a mention.
Robben.
God, we've got a great team here. Okay, it's that.
Some good players.
It's a front line of Thierry Henry on one side, Dennis Bergkamp doing whatever he wants to do, and Didier Drogba leading the line. Robert Pires, Freddie Ljungberg, Eden Hazard, Arjen Robben are all
benched.
Amazing. Robbie, as always, thank you so much for finding the time, man.
No, it's
really,
great.
Really appreciate it.
Very interesting doing that 11.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Really, really good fun, and I massively appreciate you finding the time and accommodating me here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Really do appreciate it. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Have we made a pig's ear of that? Does Eden Hazard have to be in? And if you can work out a way to get him in, let us know in the comments. Also, as always, Robbie's YouTube channel will be in the description below. Not that you aren't aware of where he is, but it will certainly be there. Thank you so much for watching. In a bit.